أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ثم الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه الأخيار أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Inshallah, in this episode we continue with our explanation on our morphology lessons, and we continue with our explanation on the تصريف العزي. It's been a long break, but Alhamdulillah, as we've always been saying, work and other responsibilities will be calling our attention, but then we'll make sure whatever material that we start, we are able to complete it, inshallah. And luckily, this is not any big material, so hopefully we will finish it soon, inshallah. May Allah aid us and always keep us in your fervent prayers. We are on the topic نون التأكيد الخفيفة والثقيلة. I think we did the mata tuqlabu waw with ta'ala wa ya'uhu wa tha'uhu ta'an. And so in this episode, inshallah, we continue with the noon al-ta'kid al-khafifatu wa thaqilatu. We are looking at the noon that is used for emphasis. I think we've seen this in our other grammar lessons and all that. But here we are going to focus more on, even though the grammar will also come to play, but we are going to focus more on the effect, the morphological effect when the noon at-tawqid or noon at-ta'kid, the light one and the heavy one, al-khafifa is the noon at-ta'kid that comes with skun, yani just noon skun for emphasis. So that is a lighter emphasis as compared to the noon at-ta'kid al-thaqila, which comes with a shadda, and that is a heavier emphasis. So the noon at-ta'kid, either one of them, if it comes into contact with a verb, it has its own morphological effect, and so it comes under the science of morphology also. So that is what we are going to look at. Imam says, وَيَلْحَقُ الْفِعْلَ غَيْرَ الْمَاضِي. You have to be marking certain things, or I'll just be telling you certain things so that you underline. They are locks. وَيَلْحَقُ الْفِعْلَ غَيْرَ الْمَاضِي. You have to mark this غَيْرَ الْمَاضِي. Very important. والحال, so verbs that are not madi, and also not al-hal. Al-hal means verbs that are used to mean now. So this is a present tense verb, but you know present tense verbs, some are used to mean now. I am engaged in the thing. For example, when I tell you أنا أذهب إلى المدرسة, what does this sentence mean? This sentence can have two meanings. أنا أذهب إلى المدرسة can just be me telling you I'm a student, and so I go to school. That is a present continuous thing. I go to school. أذهب إلى المدرسة. أذهب إلى المدرسة could mean that right now I'm on my way to madrasa. أذهب إلى المدرسة يعني أنا الآن في الطريق إلى المدرسة. أنا أذهب إلى المدرسة could mean that سأذهب إلى المدرسة, because sometimes the فعل المضارع is used to mean the future without it being prefixed with the sin and sulfur. So what they mean here is that when the verb means al-hal, the fi'l mudari, when it comes to mean now, yani ana a'kulu ta'am, this a'kulu ta'am that I am engaged in it now, I cannot emphasize it with the noon at-tawkid. I can say inni a'kulu ta'am, but I cannot say a'kulanna ta'am. I cannot say that. It is used for verbs noon at-tawkid, الثقيلة والخفيفة. They are used for verbs other than al-madi. So fi'l madi doesn't get nun al-tawkid. Al-hal, fi'l al-mudari, that means now, also does not get nun al-tawkid. We have to make note of this thing. So if you've printed yours out like I have mine in my hand, just underline the gayr al-madi and then the hal, and explain the hal to be is fi'l mudari, of course, but it is used to mean now. These two, he says, وَيَلْحَقُ الْفِعْلَ غَيْرَ الْمَاضِي وَالْحَالِ نُونَانِ. There are two types of noon that come into contact with verbs other than these two verbs that we've mentioned. So any other verb other than these two, they can come into contact with the noon at-ta'kid. And then he says, لِلتَّأْكِيد, for the purpose of emphasis. خفيفة ساكنة, the lighter one which comes with sukun. Sakina bimana, it comes with sukun. So you see it ending with noon sukun, the verb ending with noon sukun. And it says وَثَقِيلَةٌ مَفْتُوحَةٌ, and also the noon التأكيد الثقيلة, it comes with fatha. It is noon shadda and fatha. But he gives an exception here, which is something you must also note. He says that إِلَّا فِي مَا يَخْتَصُّ بِهِ. إِلَّا فِي مَا يَخْتَصُّ بِهِ. He's going to explain it right now. Right now he has explained to us that the noon التأكيد, the khafifa, comes sakina with a sukun. The noon التأكيد الثقيلة comes مفتوحة, يعني it comes with a fatha. But then there are exceptions. إلا فيما يختص به, أي إلا فيما يختص به, so you can add this there. إلا فيما يختص به نون التوكيد أو نون التأكيد الثقيلة. There are certain verbs, category of verbs, they are having a specific rapport, or they are having a specific linkage with نون التأكيد الثقيلة only. They don't take al-khafifa. There are two categories of verbs that are just set aside for nun al-ta'kid al-thaqila. They don't take the al-khafifa. Now these ones that take only the thaqila, when the thaqila comes into contact with it, it doesn't come maftuha, it comes maksura. So that's why he asked there. So whilst you are noting that the nun al-ta'kid al-khafifa is sakina and the nun al-ta'kid al-thaqila is maftuha, you have to also note that when you get to these two categories, which you know right now, when you see these two categories, forget these two laws that you've just learned, that khafifatun is sakina and then thaqilatun is maftuha. It is going to take kesra there, which you will see right now. So he says illa fima yakhtassu bihi. So just to if you have your pencil like I do, just put a sign there, illa fima yakhtassu bihi nun at-tawkid or nun at-ta'kid al-thaqila, except where the nun al-ta'kid al-thaqila is specialized for, where it is set aside for. It says which kind of verbs are set aside for nun al-ta'kid al-thaqila alone. He says وَهُوَ فِعْلُ الْإِثْنَيْنِ مُطْلَقًا. فِعْلُ الْإِثْنَيْنِ مُطْلَقًا بمعنى the dual verb. مُطْلَقًا here means the mudari and the amr. Of course we know madi has been taken out from the start. So fi'l mudari, that means mustaqbal, and the fi'l amr, these two, that is why it says mutlaqan. So when you have a fi'l amr that is dual, muthanna, and fi'l mudari that is muthanna, you cannot attach the nun al-ta'kid al-khafifa to it. You will learn why right now. So this is the first category, fi'l al-ithnaini, the dual verb. And also وَجَمَاعَةِ النِّسَاءِ, أي وَفِعِلُ جَمَاعَةِ النِّسَاءِ, verbs that are for feminine plural. If you relax even before we say why, and you put the verbs down, these two verbs, the dual verb, اذهبا أمر للإثنين, اذهبا, and then يذهبان or تذهبان, أنتما تذهبان, and then اذهبا. So the dual, muthanna, the mudari and the madi. And also the fi'l jama'at nisa yadhhabna. If you look at the construction of the verb, if you are going to attach the noon al-ta'kid al-khafifa to it, you are going to attach a noon sukun to it. Imagine idhhaba ending with alif. This alif is already harf mad, so it's sakin. You are adding a noon sukun also to alif mad, which is sakin. You know what it means. Mamnu iltiqa is-sakinain. And also, if you have yadhhabani, so if you are going to add your noon sukun, that is noon al-ta'kid al-khafifa, you have yadhhabanin. Also, if you have your or tazhabanin, as I already used the tazhaban. And then also if you have izhabna, you are going to have izhabnan. And so due to this, their construct, they don't come into contact with the نون التأكيد الخفيفة. They are always into contact with the نون التأكيد الثقيلة. You will just see them here. It says فهي مقصورة فيهما أبدا. When the نون التأكيد comes there, الثقيلة, when it comes there, it is مقصورة, not مفتوحة as they told us that ثقيلة مفتوحة. So when it comes into contact with these two, فعل الاثنين مطلقا and فعل جماعة النساء, it's the نون التوكيد or نون التأكيد becomes مكسورة. You have to make this point. So he says فتقول اذهباني. اذهباني. You don't say اذهبان. You say اذهباني. So you use the نون التأكيد الثقيلة and then it comes مكسورة. And then you say اذهباني للاثنين واذهبناني. You see how it comes. اذهبناني للنسوة. So the verb is originally what? اذهبنا. This اذهبنا, when you are bringing the نون التأكيد الثقيلة, you bring alif to separate the noon of niswa from the noon التأكيد الثقيلة. So you don't say اذهبنن. اذهبنني. اذهبنني. You have noon. توالي الأمثال. The same harf repeating itself 3 times. In Arabiya, it is something that is not preferred. It is not liked for a harf to repeat itself like up to 3 times. They call it tawali al-amthal, which we will come to learn more about, inshallah. So it makes it heavy, or it doesn't make the word sound cool. So the alif is brought between the noon al-ta'kid, it's brought between the noon al-niswa. So if you have idhabnani, look at your idhabna up to that point. The noon that has the fatha there is your noon al-niswa, which is the fa'il. It is the domir that represents the fa'il. And then you have alif separating the noon al-niswa from the noon al-ta'kid. This, after that alif, you have the noon al-ta'kid al-thaqila, but then here the al-thaqila is taking kasra. Kindly pay attention to these notes. That is why I'm taking my time to explain it. Up to this point, what have we said? We've said that verbs other than al-madi, other than al-hal, they can be attached to noon, they can be suffixed with noon al-ta'kid. And this noon al-ta'kid, it is in 2 forms. Either noon al-ta'kid al-khafifa, which has sukun, or noon al-ta'kid al-thaqila, which has fatha. But we say that there are certain verbs, they only come into contact with noon al-ta'kid al-thaqila. Noon al-ta'kid al-thaqila. What are these verbs? These verbs are also 2. Be mapping them. The first group is fi'lul ithnaini mutlaqan. The verb for 2 generally. So fi'l mudari, dual, and then fi'l amr, dual. So this category. And then fi'lu jama'atin nisa. So when you have plural feminine, the verb that goes with them, you know it has the noon in niswa attached to it. This verb also. So fi'lul ithnaini mutlaqan, and then fi'lu jama'atin nisa. These 2 verbs, they only come into contact with noon al-ta'kid al-thaqila. What is special with them? When they come into contact with noon al-ta'kid al-thaqila, the noon al-ta'kid wouldn't be maftuha. It will take kasra. So we say in this case it is maksura. That is where we are now. And then he says, فَتُدْخِلُ أَلِفًا بَعْدَ نُونِ جَمْعِ الْمُؤَنَّثِ. The alif I've just told you as a separation. The alif is placed there between the noon جَمْعِ الْمُؤَنَّثِ, the noon niswa, لِتَفْصِلَ بَيْنَ النُّونَاتِ, so that you separate the noons that we have. Because if you take the alif out, what do you have? You have izhabnanna. Izhabnanna, you have 3 noons. Noon fatha, noon sukun, noon fatha. And then he says, وَلَا تُدْخِلُهُمَا الْخَفِيفَةَ. The noon ta'kid al-khafifa does not enter these 2 categories of verbs. فعل الاثنين مطلقا وفعل جماعة النساء. Says لأنه يلزم التقاء الساكنين على غير حده. Why are we preventing this? We are preventing the noon التأكيد al-khafifa from entering these two verbs because it causes the iltiqa al-thakinain. It causes iltiqa al-thakinain in a way. So when you say izhabnan, izhabnan, and you end on a sukun, there will be alif mad, and then there will be a noon sukun after it, which is iltiqa al-thakinain. It's not allowed. Also for the dual verbs, you have izhaba, izhaba. This izhaba, if you end it with noon al-ta'kid al-khafifa, you have izhaban, which is also mamnu. It's alif mad and noon sakin, which is not allowed. It's also iltiqa as-sakinain. And then he says that فإن التقاء الساكنين إنما يجوز إذا كان الأول حرف مد والثاني مدغما. There is, we know that التقاء الساكنين is mamnu in Arabiya, but then there is a place, or there is an exception to this. The exception is that when the first sakin is harf mad and the second is a harf mudgham. Mudgham means what? So like the way we have izhabani. Come with me. Let's write izhabani. Have your pencil like I have, and have a book if you haven't printed it like this. Write izhabani. You have your alif, the, so alif kasra, the sukun. You have your ha fatha, ba fatha, and then you have your alif mad. So you have izhaba, and then you bring noon al-ta'kid الثقيلة. الثقيلة, what does it mean? It means noon shadda and then your kesra. So you have izhabani. Jamil. This noon shadda you have at the end basically means you have a noon sukun and noon fatha, or noon kesra afwan, because it's izhabani. So the noon you have at the end here is izhabani. What it actually means is that you have izhaba and noon sukun, noon fatha. And this harf noon sukun, noon fatha, it has been taken under, has undergone idgham. Yani we've blended the two. We've integrated the two. So noon sukun, noon kesra, we have ni. So what it means is that even with the izhabani, you have iltiqa as-sakinain. There is alif, mad, and there is noon sukun of the noon shadda, the first noon sukun in there. So even with that, there is still iltiqa as-sakinain in a way. But that is permitted because when the first harf here is alif mad and the second one is harf mudgaman. So you have to memorize this qaida. يجوز التقاء الساكنين إذا كان الحرف الأول حرف مد والثاني حرف مدغم. You have to memorize it like this. When the first letter is harf mad and the second one is a harf that has been integrated into each other, in that case the iltiqa al-sakinain is allowed. Look at the example is given. Nahu, it says dabbatun wa ma min dabbatin fil ard. Dabba, there is iltiqa al-sakinain here. You have dal fatha, alif mad, which is sakin, of course, and then you have ba shadda fatha. It means that there are two ba. First is sukun, second is fatha. So it's da ba, ba sukun, ba fatha, and then your ta marbuta. But this kind of iltiqa as-sakinain is allowed because the first sakin is harf mad, which is alif. The second sakin is ba, two ba that has undergone integration, idgham. As we have in walad dallin. Look at dallin. You have after the dad there is alif mad, and after that there is lam shadda. It means that there is alif mad, which is sakin, and the lam is two. First one is sakin, the second one is kesra, and it has undergone integration, idgham. So this kind of iltiqa as-sakinain is allowed, but just mere iltiqa as-sakinain that doesn't fall under this qaida is not allowed. Jamil. And then we come to where he says وَتُحْذَفُ مِنَ الْفِعْلِ مَعَهُمَا النُّونُ الَّتِي فِي الْأَمْثِلَةِ الْخَمْسَةِ. When they say أمثلة الخمسة, we mean the الأفعال الخمسة. Of course, we know that before you go through this series, you've done some nahu. So you know what we mean by الأفعال الخمسة, the verbs that have into contact with them alif al-ithnain, waw al-jama'a, or ya al-mukhatabati al-mu'annathati al-mufrad. So he says that all those verbs, they have nun at the end when they are marfu'. But he says that when they come into contact with this nun al-ta'kid, what happens? We take off the nuns at the end. Tuhuzafu. So you find them in their تصريف, the nun has fallen. Says this af'al al-khamsa, he calls it for us again. Yaf'alani, taf'alani, yaf'aluna, taf'aluna, and then taf'alina. Just as examples, because you can have yazhabuna, yazhabani, tazhabuna, tazhabani, and then tazhabina. You can have them like that. Says وَتُحْذَفُ wawu يَفْعَلُونَ. So you come to see all these hazf that he's talking about. We will see all of them practically right now. So we have here with us وَتُحْذَفُ wawu يَفْعَلُونَ وَتَفْعَلُونَ وَيَاءُ تَفْعَلِينَ. So you have يَفْعَلُونَ, تَفْعَلُونَ. The verbs have waw in there. This waw is the domir that represents the fa'il. And then what happens? The yai also in taf'alina, the yai that represents the file of the mukhataba, anti. So anti taf'alina, that yai there is also taken off. Illa izan fataha ma qablahuma, except when what comes before each of these waw and yai is maftuha. We will understand it clearly when we are doing it practically right now. Nahu, example. Look at these verbs. La takhshawunna wa la takhshayinna. These are extracts from the Quran. He brings two extracts from the Quran of one. Wala tublawunna. And then he brings again fa imma tarayinna. Jamil. Let's look at the roots of these verbs. The first one that he creates himself, la takhshawunna, and then la takhshayinna. The takhshawunna, what is the root? Let's see what has been taken off, what has been changed in order. Come with me. Takhshawunna verb, write it separately somewhere. The root of it, the verb, of course, we all know, khashiya, yakhsha. So khashiya, if you are going to bring it with the plural, khashiya, you say takhshayuna. The ta is the harf al-mudari'ah, and the waw after the yai is the waw al-fa'il, and the noon is the noon al-raf'u. So originally you have takhshayuna, takhshayuna, just like tazhabuna, takhshayuna, tazhabuna, ta'kuluna. So original version of the takhshawunna without the noon al-tawkid is takhshayuna. Jamil. What happens to takhshayuna? As you can hear the verb, if your tongue is Arabized a bit, you wouldn't feel so comfortable with it. What is happening here is that it's too heavy. The takhshayuna, the dhammah with the yai there, is making the whole thing complicated. So original Arabs found a way of removing everything difficult. They like easiness. So what happened? The yai dhamma, they took off the dhamma, they took off the yai. And then what is left? So in your next step, as you've written takhshayuna, come to the next step with me and take off the yai dhamma. What do you have? You have takhshawna. You have takhshawna. This takhshawna, still, what has happened to the verb is that we've omitted the lamul fi'l, which is the yai. We still have the wawul fa'il, we have the noon ar-raf, the noon alamatul raf, we still have it. The next step, what happens? We are bringing the noon al-tawkid. We are bringing the noon al-tawkid. So when we bring the noon al-tawkid, we have takhshawna. Takhshawna. It doesn't sound because we have the waw schoon here. Its pronunciation like this doesn't really sound well. And then when you say takhshawna, the moment you say it like this, it doesn't sound comfortable on your tongue. So what happens? instead of takhshawna with a sukun still on the wow, what we do is that we give it dhamma. So we get takhshawunna. We give it dhamma. Takhshawunna. Jamil. In the تصريف of this kind of verbs, people might have other perceptions that the haraka of the yai was moved to the waw and the yai was omitted from the start. Takhshawunna. That was what happened. Some other people might have other tasrifat, but this is the steps of how we got to the takhshawunna. Okay. So here what has happened is that we have the lamul fi'l omitted, which is the yai at the end of the shin. The lamul fi'l has been taken off. We come to the takhshayinna, la takhshayinna. Also is the same thing. Originally it was takhshayina, anti takhshayina, just like anti tadhhabina. And then from takhshayina, the yai with the kasra, which is the lamul fi'l, the yai that comes after the shin, you take it off. When you take it off, what you have is takhshayna. Now you have takhshayina. You've taken off the yai kasra. You would have takhshayna. You are writing with me step by step. You would have takhshayna. One yai with kasra is down. After you have your takhshayna, you are bringing in your nun al-tawkid الثقيلة or nun al-tawkid al-khafifah, because if you bring the al-khafifah, you are going to have two nun still here at the end, but then the nun of the fi'l itself falls, as we've already told us here above the وَتُحْذَفُ مِنَ الْفِعْلِ مَعَهُمَا نُونُ الَّتِي فِي الْأَمْثِلَةِ الْخَمْسَةِ. So all the verbs you are seeing are all أمثلة الخمسة, the أفعال الخمسة. Because تخشيون it falls under the أفعال الخمسة, تخشيين falls under it, and all the verbs that we have here. So the noon الرفع has been taken off. Not that the verb is no more marfu. The alama has just been taken off. It is mahzuf, but it is muqaddar. It is there. So you have wala takhshayinna. You've gotten the root takhshayina. Then the yai and kasra has been taken off. You have takhshayna. And then you take off the noon, which is the alama to raf. You take it off. You bring your noon tawkid al-thaqila. You have takhshayna. Takhshayna. Be writing the steps. Now that you have takhshayna, it's not so comfortable with the yai being schoon. So what we do is we give the yai kasra, then we have takhshayinna. Takhshayinna. Jamil. So come back with me again and look at something. It says وَتُحْذَفُ وَاوُ يَفْعَلُونَ وَتَفْعَلُونَ وَيَاوُ تَفْعَلِينَ إِلَّا إِذَا انْفَتَحَ مَا قَبْلَهُمَا. So you see takhshawna, we came to have the shin having fatha, and so the waw we can't take it off, because in fataha ma qablahu we can't take it off. Wa takhshayinna, what comes before the yai is also fatha, sha, takhsha, so we can't take the yai off. Jamil. We will come and see where the waw is taken off and the yai is taken off. We have here also wala tublawunna. This is from the Quran. The root was tublawuna. Tublawuna. Fi'l mudari normal, fi'l mudari tublawuna. What happens? The tublawuna, waw dhamma, waw mad. We take off the waw, the lamul fi'l, the waw with the dhamma, and then what is left for us? We have tublawuna. Under the tublawuna, or somewhere in your page, the verb tublawunna, write tublawuna, because you know that tublawunna is having the noon at the end is noon al-ta'kid. We are not talking about that. Noon al-ta'kid, we are coming to the root where the noon al-ta'kid was not in yet. Write tublawuna as a normal fi'l mudari with the noon at the end being the noon al-raf. So you have tublawuna now. The waw, which is the lam al-fi'l that comes after the lam. The waw that comes after the lam here with the dhamma, take it off. You'll be left with تبلون. تبلون. جميل. Having تبلون, we take off the noon of the رفع, we take it off, we bring our noon التوكيد الثقيلة. What do we have? تبلون. تبلون. جميل. And then what do? We give dhamma to the waw to get tublawun. Tublawun. Now the pronunciation is straight. As I've told you already, some would say that from the beginning, the dhamma of the waw that was taken off was given to the waw of the fa'il. The case is as we've just explained. So you now come to have your tublawun. Jamil. Okay. And in these cases, know that what is mahzuf here is the lamul fi'l, not the wawul jama'a or the ya'ul mukhatabati muannasa. That is not what has been omitted. What has been omitted is the lamul fi'l. Because they are both yai and waw, you might mistaken which one of them has been omitted. Jamil. He says, وَيُفْتَحُ مَعَ النُّونَيْنِ آخِرُ الْفِعِلِ إِذَا كَانَ فِعْلَ الْوَاحِدِ وَالْوَاحِدَةِ الْغَائِبَةِ. This is a summary of what we've spoken about at length. So when you have nun التأكيد attached to فعل الواحد, a singular person, the verb for singular person, masculine, a singular person, feminine, but third person. So أنت تذهب, أنت تذهب, oh هي تذهب, عفوا, because غائبة, هي تذهب. When you bring your nun التأكيد to it, it will end with, the verbs will end with fatha. As we already know in our grammar, يبنى الفعل المضارع إذا اتصل به نون التأكيد على الفتح. We know it already. ويضم إذا كان فعل جماعة الذكور. If the verb is for masculine plural, then you find the ending of the verb coming with dhamma, as we've just seen. تبلون, تخشين. You see the vowels coming as it's supposed to be. ويكسر إذا كان فعل الواحدة المخاطبة تخشين. The ending of the verb is مكسورة. جميل. فتقول في أمر الغائب مؤكدا بالنون الثقيلة. So they give examples to clarify all this. When you are commanding al-ghaib, the third person, مؤكدا بالنون الثقيلة, while emphasizing with the nun الثقيلة, how does it go? You say لينصرن. ينصرن, because it's one person. We've said that يفتح مع النونين آخر الفعل إذا كان فعل الواحد. The ending of the verb will be made fatha when it comes into contact with nun التأكيد. If the verb is for masculine singular, and if the verb is for feminine third person singular, the verb will end with fatha. So لينصرن, لينصرن, you find the ra coming with fatha before the nun التأكيد. So that is the آخر الفعل, which is the ra ending with fatha here. And then you look again, لينصراني, لينصراني. And then you see again لينصرن. Okay, لينصرن, you see the ra ending with dhamma, because why? It is for جماعة الذكور. He says ويضم إذا كان فعل جماعة الذكور. If the verb is for masculine plural, يضم, it will be made madmuma. And then you look at the other ones here, لتنصرن, أي هي لتنصرن. So it is ending with fatha. We've said that يفتح إذا كان مع فعل الغائبة. And then you see لتنصراني for the dual, لتنصراني. Then of course you see لينصرنان for hunna, لينصرنان hunna. Then it says بالخفيفة لينصرن, 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 and then لتنصرن. So examples with the nun التأكيد al-khafifa. Why did he just choose this? Because of course you've already learned that fi'l al-ithnain, it doesn't come into contact with nun التأكيد al-khafifa. And then also Nun al-Jama'at al-Nisa also doesn't come into contact with Nun al-Ta'kid al-Khafifa. So with the example of those ones, he doesn't give set examples for that. It says, وَتَقُولُ فِي أَمْرِ الْحَاضِرِ مُؤَكِّدًا بِالنُّونِ الثَّقِيلَةِ. When you are commanding the person that is present before you. So the ones we've done is the ghaib. When you are commanding the second person, the person right before you, what do you say? Unsuranna. Unsuranna. Ay anta unsuranna. And then two, you say unsurani. And then for plural, you say unsurunna. Jamil. Unsurinna. For what? Anti. Look at the kasra. Unsurinna. Anti. Look at the qaida again. He says, وَيُقْصَرُ إِذَا كَانَ فِعْلَ الْوَاحِدَةِ الْمُخَاطَبَةِ. If it's a second person and it's one, يُقْصَرُ. The ending of the verb comes with kasra. So you see, unsurinna means that we are talking to anti. Unsurani, we are talking about two people before us. Unsurnani, when you see the structure, nun, alif separating it with nun, التأكيد, الثقيلة, then you know that we are talking about antunna. Antunna unsurnanna. Unsurnani, afwan. It comes maksura. And then bil khafifa, unsuran, unsurun, unsurin. You can see that he doesn't set example for the dual verbs with the nun ta'kid al khafifa. He doesn't set example for them. He doesn't set example for the fi'lu jama'at nisa, the unsurnani. There is no example for nun ta'kid al khafifa. Why? Because they do not come into contact with nun al-ta'kid al-khafifa. Says وَكِسْ عَلَى هَذَا نَظَائِرَهُ. So you follow this ones that he has taken us through and practice with other verbs. Okay. So let's, this has taken some time because it required an open explanation, and sometimes if you don't focus, you might lose, particularly with the hazf and all that. You must know the root of the verb and all that. Inshallah, if anything is confusing, do not hesitate. Ask, let us discuss it clearly. The comment section is for you. Anything you want to ask, kindly do so. We will end with this portion of it, and then in our next episode we go with the ismul fa'il wal maf'uli min al-thulathi al-mujarrad. May Allah see us through this one till we finish. Of course, if the lesson have been beneficial to you, don't forget to leave a like. Don't forget to also share for others to also benefit. And if you've not subscribed, don't forget to do so. Till we meet again, have a very good Sarf Arabic time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.